Hey there, it's Andrea Olson with the Go Diaper Free podcast. And in this video, I fixed my microphone. My kids took a bite out of it. I'm going to be recording podcast episode 105, which you can listen to on iTunes or Spotify. And soon, what's that other new one? Oh yeah, Google Podcasts. All right, so enjoy. I'll talk to you after. Welcome to the Go Diaper Free podcast, where we're all about helping you potty your baby as early as birth. I'm your host, Andrea Olson, author and mom of 5 babies, all EC'd from birth, all out of diapers by walking. This is episode 105, Worldwide EC Survey Results. What Nuria discovered surveying over 1,000 EC families around the world. You're definitely going to want to check out the show notes for today's show, because today I'm attaching this brand new study to the blog post, and there are going to be a bunch of infographics and things that are shareable, quote cards, things that you can share that can get people's interest piqued about, whoa, what is EC really about? And how much greater and more amazing than potty training is it? And yes, I'm biased. There will also be graphs there that show a visual depiction of what happened in this survey. So definitely check that out at godiaperfree.com/105. I will also conveniently link to anything I mentioned in today's episode, especially the free download of the study, which you're welcome to share, so long as you keep the copyright intact. And I will also be replying to comments over there, so come on by when you're finished. So do you ever wonder how most of us practice elimination communication, or EC? What are our reasons and our difficulties, and what are our results? Will a child be potty trained earlier if we start earlier? Or does it mainly depend on his chronological age? How common are potty pauses, and around what age should we even expect them? How involved are partners in EC? And are you the only one who can't convince any of your friends with babies of the benefits of EC? All these questions and many more remain unanswered until now, that is. Unfortunately, there were hardly no studies regarding EC, and mainstream medicine seems to recommend later toilet training based on consensus that isn't backed up by any solid research. I've read the studies. And by the way, I will link to the studies on my blog, because it's just pretty obvious that this was not based in science, but it's a consensus nevertheless. And this is the reason why Nuria Estrada, a clinical psychologist and part-time researcher in other fields from Barcelona, also new mom, decided to run a survey to find out how we are all managing with EC. For years, I've been wanting to do a survey, but Nuria thankfully beat me to it, and she did a lovely job of compiling the results. The survey was given to people who are currently practicing EC with their babies, full-time or part-time, even if they've just started, or who have finished doing it recently, like less than a year ago. I invite you to download the entire study and analysis for free at the show notes, godiaperfree.com/105. I want you to read it and draw your own conclusions. It hasn't been published in a journal yet. That's the next step, but Nuria has allowed me to publish her study on our blog for immediate sharing. And I'm talking like share it with your pediatrician, share it with the local news, whatever you want to do. All right, so 1,226 total people responded to her survey. 1,176 of those started before the first year. So only that group of 1,176 were included in this analysis part of the survey. Almost all respondents, 99%, were women, all mothers and one grandmother. The average start age was just under 3 months, and the average duration of EC at the time they took the survey was just over 9 months. Nuria divided the sample into 4 groups according to starting age: 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 7 to 9, and 9 to 12 months. And she compared, basically as an overview, she compared the current success regarding pee and poop during the day and night, right? The starting age of intentional signaling, when did kids start signaling on purpose? And the age of completion, pee and poop and day and night, if they claim to have reached completion at all. So those are the main things that she looked at. And I'm going to break this down into little bite-sized pieces for you, okay? Some of these words are Nuria's, some of them are mine. They're all sort of mixed together. So the first question is, does starting earlier in the first year mean reaching poop or pee trained sooner? Like, are we pee trained? Are we poop trained? And is it happening sooner? So basically, there's a trend that shows that an earlier start means earlier continence regarding poops and intentional signaling, but not regarding pees. So that's what her study found. This difference and statistical significance holds if we divide the group into two as well, 0 to 6 months and 6 to 12 months. So it doesn't matter, it's still significant. This means that people who start earlier in the first year report better success than those who start later in the first year regarding poops. And this is not pee. This is very interesting because the current effectiveness is also influenced by the current age. So those babies with an earlier start age are currently younger than those who started later. The difference is statistically significant, but this is the point. Younger babies still do better on average than their older counterparts. So starting earlier can, I think, be easier for you because babies just do better and it'll build your confidence around EC by starting earlier. So if you start EC earlier, within the 0 to 12 months range, you'll have an easy road to poop training. The earlier, the better. With pee, it doesn't make much difference at what age you start within the 0 to 12 month range, but it does matter between starting at 1 year old or less or 1 year old or more. Anyway, we'll talk about average end results in a second. They're very interesting. Like, when did people complete EC? But another way to look at this, on page 8 of the study, it says that the earlier you start in the first year, the earlier they won't soil themselves. We all know poops are easy, right? But it also says urine will still take some time, and it doesn't make a difference if you start earlier or not in the first year, which we're looking at. But here's the catch. Nuria personally thinks that this would not be true if we were doing mostly full-time EC and without diapers, as in other cultures. But of course, this survey reflects the results of our real practice, which is more relaxed, and it's adapted to modern living like carpet and clothing. So I know that I've experienced pee completion with both of my girls by 13 to 15 months of age, and I started with both of them at birth. So note that this finding is not the be-all, end-all of everything. This is not the last word on the matter. Things will vary. There are outliers in her survey as well. This is just sort of average, but with both of my girls, I did EC full-time. I took them out of diapers at 13 months old, right after they started walking, and into undies within a month. I would guess that this timing helped them achieve pee control, no accidents, because I removed the diapers at that age and I trusted them to stay dry. My boys, all three of them, on the other hand, were a different story. I had a similar experience to the survey respondents with them. It didn't matter how early I started EC within the first year. All of them were started at birth, of course. And it didn't matter when I took the diapers away. There were 9, 17, and 12 months. We still had some pee accidents until around 17 months of age with my boys. But in any case, I think that, and I can totally see how these survey results are correct. Finishing by 6 to 10 months with poop and 19 months, which we'll get to that with pee, that's half the current national U.S. average of potty training independence of 36 to 38 months. I'll take it. So, when we compare this to other ECers, we get one thing. But when we compare it to the potty training average, this is half the time, you guys. Kind of at the worst, half the time. Start early, finish early is the point. It truly does matter. Okay, let's go back to Nuria's analysis of her study. I'm going to start with a question and then I'll give her answer. Did people do EC full-time or part-time? Another interesting finding is that approximately half of the respondents practice EC full-time and half part-time during the day. But at night, 61% claim that they usually don't practice any form of EC. And I always say nighttime EC is optional. Among those still in training, the effectiveness of EC was greater for those who practiced full-time EC. So Nuria says, if you do full-time versus part-time, you're going to have, your EC is going to be more effective. But that it's pretty much 50-50 between full-timers and part-timers. And that at night, most people don't practice any EC at all, and 40% do. The next question is, which backup do folks use? The most common backup used during the day is cloth diapers, while disposables are most common at night. Daily bladder control was related to the type of diaper used. Those using cloth diapers experienced more success than those using disposables. Very important to note. Among those still in training, the effectiveness of EC was greater for those who used regular underwear or training pants. So even better than cloth diapers is moving them into regular underwear or training pants because they feel less like a diaper, right? Next question was, are people satisfied with EC? Yes, people value EC as quite satisfying. 8.5 out of 10 was the average. Are people tired? Is EC time consuming? Participants stated that EC was not too tiring or time consuming and were highly satisfied. On a scale of 1, which is not tiring, not time consuming at all, to 10, which would be enormously tiring or enormously time consuming, most people rated 3 with a mean of 3.9. So closer to the not tiring, not time consuming end, if you're keeping track. So yeah, EC is technically and legitimately not wearing people out, not time consuming like people fear, oh, I would never have time to do that. No. EC actually takes away one of your duties as a new parent, just saying. All right, next. Are partners or dads on board? And she did ask as a partner, so whatever, same sex, opposite sex, whatever, no sex. Whatever the partner is, if there is a partner, about 80% say that their partner is just as involved as they are. That is so much higher than I expected, you guys. This is so wonderful. Or less involved, but that's just due to practical reasons, like they work full time. And that the ones who don't do it as much, aren't as involved as they are, their partners are not less motivated. They just might not be as available. So that's super cool, right? And now for the big reveal. At what age were babies pee and poop trained? The most common age for controlling stools during the day and at night was 6 months. So that's the most reported age, 6 months. Boy, if people potty training would only know that you could have a poop trained child at 6 months. Maybe they would do EC. Definitely tell a friend today, you guys. The most frequent age of urinary continence was 18 months during the day and 20 months at night. So that was the most frequently reported age where they had daytime dryness, 18 months. And this is basically a month without an accident. So it's really like, I feel like we have accidents, right? 13, 14, 15 months, but at 18 months, we're usually pretty good. 50% of the children had achieved stool continence by 6 months at night and 10 months during the day, and had attained bladder control both during the night and the day by 19 months of age. So yay, yes, we ECers knew it. Babies are typically poop trained before 1 year old with EC. And that's why half of the current world's population's babies are toilet independent by 1 year old per Pediatrics magazine or Contemporary Pediatrics. The reason is poop training is so instinctual. It's so easy, you guys. If people only knew whether they're using a daycare or not, it doesn't matter. It's so easy to do it before 1. And then in these other indigenous cultures, they're done because they can also go outside just to pee wherever, whenever. So in a lot of cases. All right, I digress. So Nuria says, in my mind, oh no, sorry, this is my words. Andrea says, in my mind, that means you can send a kiddo to preschool or daycare without a diaper by 12 months old. No more reasons to not try EC. Oh, I have to go back to work. It's okay. This is so possible because it's based on our baby's instincts. So if you were wondering what you can expect, there you go. Such good info. And if you're not there yet, just get better at EC with my book and my support group and our courses. The next question is, at what age did babies consistently signal? Oh, this is such a hot topic. From the study, by 13 months of age, half of the children had already started intentionally signaling their need to eliminate. The most common age was 12 months. While 25%, 50%, and 75% of babies had started signaling by the ages of 9, 13, and 17 months, respectively. So we've got, while many babies, regularly signal by 9 months of age, many of them, about 75% of babies start signaling regularly by 17 months old. That's almost all of them. So what that means, be patient, young grasshopper. Signals do come back if they disappear. Babies are born signaling, then it goes away with, like it says, about 50%. And then they come back by about 17 months. So they do come back if they disappear, and this study is proof. So just be patient and just teach what you want their signal to be when they start signaling again. So on page 8 of the study, It says the earlier you start in the first year, the earlier the baby will start signaling. So if you start EC at 2 months versus 8 months, your baby's going to start signaling earlier. If you start EC earlier in that first year, signals will come more easily. But if you want to learn more about signals and what to do about them, please, and I'm going to link to these in the show notes, see episodes 27, 47, and 80 for more information on signals. And my Signals 101 video is also on YouTube, so check those out. And I'll link to all those in the show notes at godiaperfree.com/105. Okay, so the next question, how do parents know their babies need to pee? This is always a hot question too. Most participants said that they used baby cues, fussing and pushing away, a signal, to predict elimination, and also offered the potty at certain times. After naps, after eating, when the baby wakes up. I call those the 4 easy catches, some of those. So you can learn more about the most common baby signals and the 4 easy catches all on a 1-page PDF with my free Easy Start Guide for EC. If you don't have it, get it. It can help you wrap your mind around all of this stuff, and I link to that in the show notes as well. So how many people experienced potty pauses? 50.1% of participants stated that their baby had gone through at least one potty strike, refusing to use the potty or experiencing a significant decline in success that could not be explained otherwise. Okay, so that's 50%. 57.3% of this group, of the 50%, claimed to have experienced only one strike. So when only children older than 14 months were selected, the percentage of those who had experienced a potty pause increased up to 74%. So it is age dependent. So potty pauses are normal, and you can learn more about why they happen and how to get through one. And here are some tips. Teach something, give more control, give privacy. But learn more on episode 23 of the podcast or in my potty pause resolution mini course. Okay, so now I want to know, and maybe you want to know too, how many people gave up on EC? Most parents were always consistent with EC, and very few abandoned the practice. Only 28 participants, 2.4%, claimed they had definitively abandoned EC, and their reasons were mostly due to lack of success and potty refusal, but participants also mentioned stress and domestic or external workload. So homemaking stuff, working outside of the home, lack of support, depression, or even anxiety. This finding makes me feel really encouraged, you guys, that all the support we make available in our private book owners groups and the other online groups that are out there are really making a difference in helping people stick with EC. This is my unscientific assumption, but I'm very glad about that. The next question, why do people do EC? All right, the main motivation to practice EC was feeling that it was more respectful for the baby, but participants also wanted to finish potty training at an earlier age, to clean fewer diapers or save money on diapers, and to contribute to protecting the environment. All wonderful reasons. Next question, are ECers isolated? According to the results, EC is a very isolated practice, with most people having no acquaintances around them involved in EC, and they're mostly using online resources as the main source of information, which is even more reason, you guys, to join our coach program and bring EC to your town, because we need friends. Okay. What's the most common supply used in EC? The potty was the most common instrument for elimination, and I'll link to a couple of those. Somebody make a note of this. In the show notes, we'll link to a few of the potties that we recommend. Next question, do people EC on outings? So while away from home, about half of people usually continued practicing EC. And you can learn how to use EC on outings in my EC While Out and About course. There is a lot of footage in it that shows you exactly what it could look like. It's actually quite easy compared to being at home all the time. And conclusions. In Nuria's words, this is at the end of the study. Considering the results of this survey and the review of previous research, it seems highly advisable to inform parents or caregivers of the possibility, the method, and the expected results of early toilet training so that parents can make an informed choice. And if they don't know about EC, you guys, they can't choose it. So we definitely need to share about it. Don't be shy. It seems clear that infants are prepared for toilet training at earlier ages than mainstream medicine advocates, that an earlier start does lead to an earlier completion, and that despite the effort involved, there are potential health benefits for infant toilet training. Whew, okay, now that I've given you the highlights, go on over to the show notes to read the study. and it's there for free to download for you. Share it far and wide, but again, keep the copyright intact. Also, for those of you who are holding a newborn or driving or pushing a stroller, I'll also share the beginning of the study with you right now. I'm going to read it into the podcast with the basically this part of the study, the beginning of it, the first page or two, is the full literature review from Nuria. If you're not into stats and numbers and you're like, okay, cool, I got enough out of this podcast. Great. You can go ahead and comment to answer the question over on the show notes. Go diaperfree.com/105. What was the most surprising thing you took away from Nuria's study, and what are you going to share about? I'm going to add that on there. What are you going to share about? If you're not sticking with me, have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. I'm Andrea with Go Diaper Free Podcast, and if you are sticking around, for the rest of you, here's a literature review from the beginning of the study. Since you've just been thoroughly informed of all the conclusions of this EC study, I want you to marvel in the stark contrast that the rest of this info will present. There's a lot of contrast. Full citations are found in the linked study to everywhere. She just, literature reviews basically when you grab a bunch of pieces of literature, studies and whatnot, and you compare and contrast. So here goes for those of you staying with me. Toilet training is usually a challenge for parents all over the world, and difficulties associated with toilet training are a great concern and can cause much stress in families. However, there hasn't been much research regarding this topic in the medical literature, and guidelines about how to achieve this milestone have changed over the years, from rigid habit training approaches that even included coercive methods to the so-called child-centered approach described by Brazelton in 1962. That's basically what changed it all. That has greatly influenced the current guidelines. In Brazelton's study, parents of 1,170 children were instructed to start toilet training when their child was 18 months or older, introducing a potty chair, showing the child what it was for, and encouraging him to use it, and of course praising his or her success, which I don't. The average age for day continence was 28.5 months and 33.3 months, including nighttime. Guys, that's so much higher than this one because they started so much later. Urine and bowel continence were usually achieved simultaneously. An earlier observational study followed a cohort of 992 children born in Baltimore, USA in 1952. This study, prior to the widespread commercialization of disposable diapers in the late 50s, early 60s, depending on your source, aimed to determine the age of bladder control during the day and at night. It must be stressed that children were categorized as having become dry after a month of having one accident at most, therefore using a strict definition of dryness. Although the authors don't specify the age when training was started or the method parents used, daytime dryness was reached just before 2 years of age in 50% of children, and nighttime dryness just over 2 years of age, showing earlier achievement of this milestone than Brazelton had observed. There are also descriptions in the literature of cultures in which mothers learn to identify their baby's need to void or defecate, provide an appropriate position in a certain location, and cue the baby with a certain sound like psst, so that the child doesn't wet or soil himself or herself. Dryness is achieved as early as 6 months old in these cultures, and she has 2 sources for that. It has been shown that toilet training changes the physiological functions involved in bladder response, increasing the bladder capacity, improving the coordination between the bladder and its sphincter, and emptying the bladder completely, which is key to health, you guys. Complete bladder emptying happens with EC and not with late toilet training. And that from birth, bladder emptying is not an automatic function without the influence of the brain. In a study comparing healthy Vietnamese, where toilet training is started in infancy and diapers are infrequently used, and Swedish children, the authors observed that early potty training of Vietnamese children led to complete bladder emptying by 9 months of age, while Swedish children did not show complete emptying until the age of 36 months when they were toilet trained. By the age of 24 months, 98% of Vietnamese children had achieved bladder control independent of support from an adult. They are independently toileting. While by the age of 36 months, only 55% of Swedish children had reached this milestone. I feel sad. I just feel sad. I know how much that means to a kid. In 2000, a survey in Belgium was conducted to assess the differences in toilet training practices in the previous 60 years. Parents who responded to the questionnaire were grouped according to their generation. those born in 1920 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 to 80. In the eldest generation group, toilet training was usually started before 18 months. 50% claimed to have started during the first year. Disposable diapers were not there, and most parents used prompting as a training method, reminding them to go. Among the youngest generation, only 22%, those born in 60 to 80, only 22% had started before 18 months. 98% used disposable diapers, and only 8% used prompting as a training method, which is basically telling your child it's time to go. The duration of training was not different in the three groups, with an average duration of 6 months. 71 and 61% of children in the eldest generation group were dry and clean by 18 months of age during the day and night, respectively, while these percentages dropped to 17%. You heard me right. It's like the opposite of the first number. 71 versus 17. 17% and 8% in the youngest generation of parents were dry and clean by 18 months. How does this happen in 40 years? This is me talking. Oh my gosh. Oh, I know how. Disposable diapers were invented in order to delight mothers so they could get out of the house and ruin our environment in the process. I'm sorry, I'm bitter. Okay. As shown in this last study, a gradual delay in the age of toilet training worldwide has consistently been observed over the past century, with recent data indicating that the current average start age is 25.5 months for girls, and people aren't starting until 30.5 months for boys. That's 2.5 starting. If you're at 2.5 and you're just starting out, please just potty train. It will only take you about a week to get over the hump, and then do it differently with your next one. It's so much easier to toilet train between 12 and 18 months, especially when you start EC in the first year, as this study shows. Okay, go back to the script, Andrea. I get heated. While there is no reason to assume that children's abilities, capacities, or physiological development have changed over the last 100 years, they haven't. It has been suggested that later initiation of training is related to the belief that early training does not lead to earlier completion of training and the availability of disposable diapers, thank you, Pampers. Unfortunately, this delay in training has been linked to higher rates of stool toileting refusal, so refusing to poop, defined as a refusal to defecate in the toilet or potty for at least 1 month. So they refuse to poop for a month in the toilet or potty, while voiding urine consistently on the potty, with 50% of children trained between 42 and 48 months being considered stool toileting refusers. Half of the children who are toilet trained by just under 4 years old are refusing to poop in the toilet. That is an issue that will get into your psyche. That's messed up. And rising up to 73% in those being trained. So when you're not starting the training until just under 4, or you're starting the training after 4 years of age, 73% are stool toilet refusers when they're training after 4 years of age. So waiting till they're ready or waiting until they're older, not the best advice. While only 11% of children exhibited stool toileting refusal before 2 years old. And I would imagine that most of those were between 18 and 24 months. I don't know very many ECers at all who have stool toileting refusal unless they're constipated. And that's easily resolved, and then they're back on track. You don't get used to sitting in your poop, that's all. Okay, back to the script. It is noteworthy that stool toileting refusal can lead to stool withholding, severe constipation, and if not resolved, primary encopresis. That is leaking poop out of your butt. Thank you. Moreover, a review of urinary continence has shown that a later age of training is consistently associated with a higher risk of urinary incontinence, and it has therefore been suggested that the modern trend for late toilet training may have caused an increase in enuresis, which is peeing yourself. But no controlled, like leaking pee, you guys. But no controlled studies on early versus late toilet training exist to evaluate this hypothesis. A large anonymous survey with over 4,000 respondents evaluated factors associated with voiding problems such as incontinence, urinary tract infections, and urgency, and found a strong association between these problems and the age of onset of toilet training. Strong association. They concluded that bladder sphincter coordination is not purely a maturational process and can be influenced by toilet training, and suggested that the best time to start this training should be before 18 months of age. And I would say as early as birth, whenever you hear this. All right, if you're with me so far, we have one more paragraph to go. Prior to the present survey, and of great relevance, is a study conducted by the team of Dr. Rugolato, aimed at examining the practice of toilet training started during the first year of life. An anonymous questionnaire comprising 44 questions was developed in English and translated into Chinese, Dutch, German, and Italian. It was distributed in several countries, and 286 responses were obtained. The demographic characteristics of the participants were similar to those found in the present survey. The mean age of daytime dryness, with a maximum of 2 accidents per week, and bowel control, excluding episodes of diarrhea, which goodness knows we can't control those, was 17.4 and 15 months, respectively. So this is examining the practice of toilet training starting during the first year of life. So starting toilet training during the first year of life, we have daytime dryness of 17 months and bowel control of 15 months with that study. And that was a smaller sample size than this study, right? At night, the mean age for dryness with a maximum of 1 accident per week was 13.5 months. Wow. With self-awakening for voiding, so waking up to pee once in there, maybe a dream pee, and 17.7 months at night while sleeping through the night. That's amazing. Gosh, I wish everybody knew about this, and I'm going to call you to action here in a second. Disposable diaper use and a later start, first versus second semester of life, were found to significantly delay completion age for both bladder and bowel control. So using disposables instead of cloth and starting much later than 1 year old delay everything. So don't do it if you can help it. Okay. Have I left you speechless? Has Nuria left you speechless? I hope so. And then I want you to talk. So a giant thank you for Nuria's extensive commitment to distributing and compiling information from this study. Many of the participants did come from our Go Diaper Free community because I did send an email out there that had thousands of people clicking her link. I am so proud of the results you guys are seeing. Congratulations. So again, I would like for you to comment over in the show notes what was the most surprising thing you took away from today's study, including the literature review. And please share this study and parts of it far and wide. Call your TV station, your radio show, message all the social media influencers you know, even if you think they're not going to write you back, especially the ones who just had babies. Let's get this printed everywhere. And share with your mom and dad groups on social and on email. But most importantly, share with pediatricians, midwives, and doulas. We need more people talking about this amazing practice of elimination communication, this EC study, and all the benefits for our babies, parents, and our planet. I think you'll agree with me. This is important. And I love it when people take action versus just talking about it with their own family, which is great and all. But let's get out there and talk to some more people about this. People who might be like, wow, that makes sense. And they're going to do it with their baby or tell their entire pediatric practice about it, you know? Okay, so head over there, godiaperfree.com/105, and let us know what stood out to you from today. Thank you so much, Nuria. I'll see you over there. Till next time, when we are going to talk about, what are we going to talk about next time? Oh, we're going to talk about stealth pooping next time. It's a good one. So we'll talk to you then. Till next time, happy pottying, y'all. I'm Andrea Olson, and you've been listening to the Go Diaper Free podcast at godiaperfree.com. I'll see you next time. I just said I'll see you next time like 50 times. What stood out for you about that? Please comment below and definitely share this video. I know it's just a recording of a podcast, but it's still all the information. Go over to the show notes page at godiaperfree.com/105, download that study and share it with people. Keep the copyright intact. And let me know below what stood out for you out of all of this. I look forward to seeing you.